So when did you start out growing organically then?
Well, officially we started in 1976 when we applied to the Soil Association to be certified, but we had been gardening organically for a couple of years before that.
Right. And that was down in Cornwall, wasn't it?
No, we actually started near Milton Keynes. I was working on a large dairy farm. This was a sort of a part-time venture we did after work, and well, I didn't get weekends. I worked weekends, but spare time. So that was before we moved back to Cornwall.
Okay, right. And how long have you been here at Cornwall?
Hardwick, I've been here for 32 years. I came here for 5 years. I had no idea I was going to be here 30 years later, but I am still here. Yeah.
Yeah, and I understand that you were quite closely associated with the Henry Doubleday Research Association when you started out. So tell me a little bit how you learned to grow organically. Well,
HGRA, as we called them in those days, were really pivotal in what we were doing because it was the only really useful source of information. There was nowhere else. I mean, we could use regular gardening books and leave out the chemical part, so that wasn't altogether satisfactory. HGRA had a much more holistic approach to organic gardening. So for us, it kind of ticked all the boxes about where we wanted to be, practically and also philosophically. And the members' experiments were just really interesting and fun things to do. If you wanted to know more about your growing, then you do an experiment. All gardeners do experiments, and to be part of a club doing it on a larger scale was really interesting. And we were involved in, I don't remember, but it must have been 3 or 4 different experiments I do remember we got involved in, and they were really useful. Even if the experiment went wrong, you learned something.
You still learned from them, yes.
Yeah.
So the carrot fly barrier was one of the ones that we sort of really think that the barrier was first developed by members, really, and that was one of the ones you participated in.
Yeah, well, carrot fly was a serious problem, and it was probably one of our largest problems, actually. And the carrot fly barrier thing, I do remember it worked very well. It was almost 100%. I couldn't believe how effective it was. And we did do it for several years. We were doing it on a relatively small scale. This was kind of large garden scale. We still use a derivation of that same trial, that same experiment now on tunnels where we have 250 square metres of carrots in one tunnel. We surround the whole of the tunnel, the open parts, with barriers to keep the carrot fly out, and it does work. In the field, we've now got crop covers which have superseded the original barrier methods. The barrier method didn't really work on a large scale, it was too complex, but it worked very well on a garden scale.
And any other experiments? Comfrey, you said you'd
Yes, we meddled with comfrey, various sort of messy, smelly solutions to comfrey. Another one, I seem to recall we did something with potatoes and shoots on potatoes.
Oh yeah, the long shoot potatoes.
Yeah, how many potatoes you could grow from one tuber. I think there was a fascination in that, in that you could sort of get record-beating production from one tuber. So that was another one I remember. We used to put them under the bed and get very long tubers, very long growths on the sets. We don't do that anymore, but it was a really useful thing. I think as much as anything, it's really about being part of a growing organic movement. And in those days, there was this real sense of a growing organic movement. This was something new, dynamic. This kind of satisfied my urge to change the world in a very small way, and that I think was true for a lot of people.
From a practical sense of view.
And it's a kind of a shame in some ways that kind of got lost, really, and it's not anything like as powerful as it was in those days. The kind of newness of organic now is gone. It's it's mainstream, although it's still very minor, and there is less of an organic movement around than there was. I think,
but you still are quite actively involved in the farmer labs and sort of research by farmers, aren't you?
Or very much so. So I think the HGRA experiments kind of set me up and gave me an interest in trials and innovation in horticulture. So it did a lot for me, actually. It went beyond the actual experiment itself and any benefit to the crop. It went beyond that because it gave me a grounding in a science-based approach to trials and experiments on farms, which I've continued to this day. And I find it, for me, it's one of the most fascinating parts of what we do, and it's probably why I'm still growing, actually, that we do have that involvement. So, it was, to me, it was a really important aspect of our gardening life. And has set me up for my career in horticulture, organic horticulture, really.
So I gather you also constructed your own flea beetle trolley.
Yeah, the Flea Beetle trolley was an old wheelbarrow adapted with very wide board. It was about 3 or 4 metres wide, bit of plywood with sticky tape on it, the sort of stuff you put on trees, grease band on trees. And it did actually work really well. It was very effective. So you trundled this thing over the crop. It had chains hanging down, which encouraged the Flea Beetle to jump up. Yeah. And it really did work. And I remember in 1995, we had a very severe drought here, which is not unusual. We do get fairly often, but it was a very severe drought, very high temperatures, rather like last year. And the Flea Beetle came in from all over the place because we were surrounded by oilseed rape at the time. There's a huge bank of beetles out there. And we had quite large cabbages actually under severe attack, and I used this thing and it actually really did work, but you had to do it twice a day because as soon as you cleared them, another lot would fly in. So you're doing this a couple of times a day, and it was quite a big job. I was doing it over probably an acre or maybe 2 acres of cabbage, so it's quite a lot of work actually. It was taking several hours every day, but it did work and it did save the crop. I mean, it could be adapted to a much larger scale. There's no reason why it couldn't be scaled up and made.
But presumably today you use fleece for that as
we
well.
use crop covers, so that has pretty much taken that pest problem out of the system. The problem now is the crop cover, of course, and what it's made of and how you get rid of it. It's another issue altogether. But no, we have got better control over pests now. I mean, we still want to know the best biological method of controlling these pests, and that's something we need to do much more work on. Carrot fly, flea beetle, they all need work in terms of biological treatments rather than bringing something in from outside to manage the environment in a better way. That's the answer really to those pest problems, I'm sure.